Now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Everywhere.
Can you hear me now?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Yes, right from your Android or iPhone. Download the Radio Cayman app now on your Android or iOS phone.
The Radio Cayman app
is where you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere you go.
Everywhere we go, we go. Everywhere we go, we go.
Find it in the Google Store, the Apple Store, or use the link at www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Yes, now you can listen to Radio Cayman everywhere.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on another terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today. Perhaps the only thing that could make it better if you had a chance to indulge in some sea salt and dark chocolate. Hey, 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back and thanks for joining us. Open line until 1 p.m. when we expect the excellent company of Kenneth Clydas Ebanks to join us. Interesting discussion in store. Get a chance to benefit from his extensive experience, education, and expertise. 949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can send us a WhatsApp, 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us. Open line between now and 1 p.m. and then a wonderful guest will be a part of our discussion as we invite you to always share your thoughts with us. Now, I would share immediately that not just from my earlier presentations, but just observations, that we are indeed, for many of us, in an exciting time. For some of us, there's a period of uncertainty. For some of us, we embrace that, the unknown as we venture into it. For some, it's trepidation. For others, it's exhilaration. And yet, as we look at it, to what extent, are we engaging those around us? Our very young children, whether they're our own or others, whether they are our grandchildren. What about, those of us who have elderly parents or ourselves? Maybe in the company of much older folk. When I say that, people in their 80s and 90s and 100s, seeing that we're living longer, hopefully laughing more and loving even more. Loving one another, loving on one another, sharing, learning from, giving and contributing. Well, give us a shout and share your thoughts. Start the day off. 8949-837, 1-800-534-8255. Or WhatsApp 925-3261. I had a chance to listen to someone who presented something to us that had been sort of, how do you put it? Discussed a long time ago. And she said, she did it early on as part of a work that was commissioned, and now to revisit it, some decades hence, she realizes that for many of us, it doesn't make sense to give them any information, provide any sort of offer to assist, because not only does it fall on deaf ears, but for many, they don't even take the time to acknowledge it. Suffice it to say that she shared the things that concerned, what potentially could unfold decades down the road. Issues like, what if crime became a problem? She says she remember some of the responses, even to the point where she's almost, if she was called to testify in some sort of official hearing, that she would stand and swear and say, this is what I believe to be the absolute truth. Not just paraphrasing, but verbatim. And why she was so adamant is that the things that she shared were not, in her mind, earth-shattering nor novel. They were things that you just had to pay attention. Things that the older heads in her, sort of circles had shared. Some of whom had come here from afar. Some of whom were, very regular and frequent visitors and could see. So issues like crime, how could that affect their lives down the road? And there were many, and sadly, she said, many Caymanians like her who looked at it and scoffed. Crime? I mean, we can leave our windows and our doors open. The only risk, is someone coming in and dropping something. We'll probably rob from them, would have been the joke of the day. But not so much now. Crime in the streets, the behaviors of our people, the sense of fear, trepidation, how has that impacted our lifestyles and our quality of life? Well, she also shared, what about issues of housing? Not just the availability to land, to build on the lands that are there, but can you pay for it? What if you had the money, had a property, but you couldn't get, the resources, the so-called factors of production, you had the land, but you don't necessarily have the labor and the capital. So maybe you have the land and you have the money, but the other things, the people to build it, the resources to, which to build it, there's someone there willing to do, but can't get the tools, or may have the tools, but can't get the material. Now, was she, in her mind, as someone has shared, reading this is almost as if you're making an account of today. She said, no, you just listen to your elders. They would share. They would do things like make provision. They would set aside for a rainy day. And she's asking, here is something that was penned a long time ago, and yet it reads almost like it's an account of something that is happening here and now. Or is it? 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. When we come back from this first break, the other sort of point that was made in that, she said, if you look at our government, the government's last 50 years, and the budgets, some would remember when it was $1 million, some would say, yep, I remember when we got to 10 million, and then, when it got to 100 million. Well, what has happened in that time? And what about the debt and the expenditure? If you're listening and you want to share an insight, it's not at all to be disrespectful, disparaging, any way to call it discord or dissension or division. But it's about sometimes, in order to look forward, you got to kind of look back. If you don't know where you're going, it says, any road will take you there. If you don't know where you come from, well, how do you know who you are? Let's pause and take that break, and when you return, join us. Stay tuned.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Ransomware, DDoS, malware, phishing. If you don't know what those mean, you're not alone. But if you aren't protected against those cybersecurity attacks, then your business is at risk. Don't leave your data or your business vulnerable. Get Digicel Business Protect. Simpler, smarter cybersecurity. Visit our website, www.digicelbusiness.com, to request a callback or call us now on 623-2499.
The Chamber of Commerce Training Center's Workplace Essentials course focuses on providing the knowledge, skills, and attitudes your employees need to succeed, elevating your company far above the competition. Topics include basic accounting, communication skills, management training, and excellence in Excel. Make the Chamber Training Center a partner in your business success. Call the Chamber today at 949-8090 or visit caymanchamber.ky for further information.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for sharing with us. It's 949-8037, 949-8037. Or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, as we invite you to share your thoughts, I want you to not only recognize our great appreciation, genuine appreciation for your continued participation, for listening, for calling, for sharing many of your thoughts, for the feedback that we get. It's about engaging, informing, entertaining, but also involved in including and educating. So through you, we learn. And with your participation, we can excel. So share your thoughts with us. And remind you quickly that 1 p.m. Cletus will join us. Looking forward to that discussion, as I always welcome our guests and always appreciative of the time that they'll take to share with us. And when we can benefit from the discussion, it improves our lives. So as we're going into the break, we asked the question, how many of us will look to our government's, successive government's budget, and how we, when looking at them, understood what was being presented? Did we look at them critically? Not because we're parliamentarians or aspiring to be, not because we're students, some sort of assignment, usually in universities, as some of us have, as part of public policy courses and the like. But just as a general citizen, and when we do, are we looking for the parts that make, a particular attractive feature to ourselves? Now, in saying that, there was something that was echoed this morning that has been shared many times. Is it that the budgets sometimes, the actual document, is so large, heavy, that many of us don't even know where to begin. We won't necessarily have access. When we look at it, we don't see it. Is there a much better way for the public to see it? And as one person shared, not only the public, but what about the parliamentarians? How many of them actually go through it? And as she shared this, she says it wasn't anything to do with questioning their resolve or their abilities. It's just that you have a lot on your plate, and when you're looking at 10,000 sheets of paper, for instance, sometimes a 10-minute video is just too long. It's probably 9 minutes and 50 seconds, too long for some of us. As she shared that, she's asking, do we look at it then like the rest of us? Again, maybe even including some in the fray. Well, this is our fait accompli. Let's just go through the motions and pretend. Now, she shared that not only the presentation of information may be discouraging or somehow sort of confusing to some, but then the timeliness of it and how it's discussed. But that aside, she shared, when we look at the government's expenditure, are we as a populace, critically assessing it? Are we cognizant that government is sort of the demands to provide more of this and ever increasing costs to run a country? Are there more that we can and should be doing as a collective, as opposed to just sitting and waiting for the government to address that issue? She gave us a number of examples. If you go through budgets, there are probably lots of money spent on policing and security, from the prison and judiciary to the actual physical policing. What about healthcare and education? Are those things that we as a populace could help to take on board to a great extent? She gave us an example. Just in an organization that she was a part of a long time ago, there was a challenge. They saw that a number of the staff were having some ill effects of the working environment and the demands. And it wasn't so much that they had a high rate of people being out sick, just had a higher rate of people being sick. So perhaps the productivity wasn't as, how she put it, as much as management wanted, perhaps is the better way to phrase it. If I try to repeat how she put it, some of you might not necessarily like that. But she said, many endeavors were sort of implemented. The first and foremost is, if you're able to do it this way, we'll pay you more. That worked for a short time, but the human body was not able to sustain it. And then finally, after many iterations, two things worked. One, more socialization with the staff with their, families collectively. So those sort of team building days and the like. And the other thing were, I guess today's language, wellness programs, where you could, through the organization, understand that your extended family, from your children to your parents, that you were responsible for. They were on your mind at your work day. More connection to them, programs that helped you to be able to make sure that you felt comfortable, that they were okay when you were at work. Then the physical activities, not the gym memberships that the company always gave all the employees, that rarely was used, but for a gym, who will exercise 24/7, or Jane, who ran every marathon. Well, they were the two exceptions. Everybody else had very little, but little outings, little time to exercise. She remembers that one individual who always used to now and again bring in little treats for the very small team, decided, every day they would take 5 minutes and do a little bit of stretching, a little bit of exercise, and something that apparently a family member had shared with this individual. And that led to discussion and de-stress and the like. Why I share that? Simply, what are we doing to improve the quality of our lives, and how are we impacting our health, the stress and the like that we feel? Well, share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Now, her sort of final point is that as she looked to the last couple of years and realizing that at the stage in her career, by choice, she can pretty much set her day. And that's not just because of the level of sort of position she is a teen, the financial sort of wherewithal, but the experience of life that she says, took a long time to not just learn but to implement and to accept that your health is truly, your wealth. And she shared, she got, many of her former colleagues questioning whether or not they would have been able to survive in this environment. And it's really, really interesting to see how she shares, we're able to make those very quick, change in our mindset when we look at the circumstances that we are faced with and have to decide, is it sink or swim? But what she says, if we did it differently, we use what we had in order to make sure others not necessarily have it easier, but they understand what is it that they're doing how to make it, quote unquote, better. Not better in the sense that it means more money, but it's more productive and more rewarding. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or WhatsApp 925-3261, and share your thoughts with us. Give us your perspective as we shared. 1 o'clock, Kenneth Eubanks will be our guest, and we had a chance to chat on a number of interesting topics, and not the least of which is the whole dynamic with respect to our population and demographics and the like. Now, one other quick point, just in passing from an educator, and I think most of us recognize the view. Whether it's your first year in the classroom or you've been 15 years since you've been in the classroom, once an educator, always an educator. And she was sharing that she is called upon from time to time to assist. Sometimes just a little additional tutoring, sometimes just some supervision. She found a few things. One, that the approach to education isn't as fluid as it needs to be in terms of how we look at deploying new strategies. She says when she first started teaching, you were expected to teach math one way, and if you couldn't teach it that way, then you weren't a good teacher. And if the student couldn't learn it that way, well, it wasn't a good student. To only realize that you can get many ways to demonstrate that 2 + 2 = 4, and not to get into, she said, introducing letters with the numbers, with symbols, with all sorts of things into math. The notion that, like many subjects, we, even before we start, discourage our children in their sort of approach to learning, and worse, or we create within them a sense of great trepidation when they approach some subjects. So much so that before the child even realizes it, the child has already been turned off from that subject, or whether it's one of the sciences, whether it's in math, and in other things. And she shared that in the early days, she didn't know what she knows now, didn't have the benefit of the years. They continued studying on her own, but also sometimes from encouragement, from one or two of her other peers. And this is where she was sharing. You get to teach others, and you have to teach from your own expertise. She gave us an example. A colleague had shared, well, I went on this course, I did this thing, whatever you do, don't waste your time doing this. And this is the reason. But here is something that would, had I known, been more beneficial, given me the skill sets that I was looking for, that I thought this course would have done. And here it is. She contrasts that sharply with an instance that someone else had in another organization. Now she says maybe it's because it was an education where it was different, and maybe in that sort of private sector cutthroat dog-eat-dog sort of mentality that we all ascribe to and believe is the order of the day. Well, someone could have given the colleague similar advice, but instead, allowed them to fall into the same sort of quagmire that, that person experienced. Let's pause. Let's take this break. When we return, we'll talk today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
CUC reminds you to always be aware of power lines. Electricity can be very dangerous. It cannot be seen, but it can be lethal. Do not loosen or come into contact with the guy wires or guy rods at the base of poles. These guy wires and rods are marked with a yellow plastic covering. Damage to these wires and rods can result in service interruptions or injuries to the public. Safety first at CUC.
Stay clean, stay safe, hey man. Reflection sells gallons of sanitizer for only $25. Buy 2 clip-on sanitizers for just $5. Reflections has the best KN95 masks or reusable cloth masks, and you can get 2 for only $5. Blue surgical masks and face shields are available for children and adults, as well as 10 and 50 packs of black surgical masks. Volume discounts available at Reflections, Jose's Rubus, Reflections Hemp and Tobacco, all 5 Liquor for Less locations, and Food for Less, open 24 hours every day. Don't miss the Liquor for Less incredible priced better markdown. Hundreds of fine from $2.99. Cases of ice cold below wholesale prices. Save $10 off liters of absolute exclusively at Liquor for Less. Prices so low we can't say them on the radio.
Superior Auto is pleased to announce the grand reopening of the new Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center on Seymour Drive. New opportunities, new beginnings, a new home for Caymanian youth seeking career training and certification in high-demand trades such as automotive repair, AC, refrigeration, and so much more. Put the value in your pocket. Fun fact, the average hourly rate for a tradesman can be 4.5 times the minimum wage. The Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center is a not-for-profit program, accepting applications from June 20th to July 20th. Contact 949-9570 or 525-9571 to apply today. The Superior Auto Apprenticeship Center, successfully building the next generation of hardworking Caymanians since 2010.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks very much for joining us as we invite you to be a part of the discussion. If you look at the calendar, it probably says July the 21st. Probably says a Thursday. And for some of us, as a good friend of mine reminded, what year is it again? Managed to know the day, he says, even the date. Sometimes even cognizant of the month. And if nothing else, he says, well, it must be summer because it is hot, not just outside, but all around. And partly in jest, well, what year is it? And then he proceeded to share that some feel that so much has been lost in the last few years. Physical contact with people, the abilities to engage and socialize and to travel and to do the things that were planned and expected. And then he said, sadly, as many almost on a daily basis lose loved ones. And what is challenging in it, has happened to me. You don't even realize that you're talking to someone and that person is either just experienced a loss or is in that state of mind where, but for a miracle, that loved one will pass imminently. We can pray for and with, we extend our sincerest and deepest condolences, he says, but still doesn't mean that a person is experiencing that sense of dread, of loss, of uncertainty, of anxiety. And he shared that loss, those lost opportunities. Now, on the flip side, if you were to look at statistics, emanating from some of the world institutions, some of the publications that rank wealth and the like, well, it would presumably seem that some people have, doubled their wealth. They're tripled it. They have increased it by significant percentage points. And they're not just rolling in the dough, as some would say, but they are even, faster and much more sort of selfishly, single-handedly guiding their actions to greater material wealth. I should have to say that as he was reflecting on it, he's understanding that perhaps what's driving a lot of that is that people feel that as the world is a bit of an uncertainty at the time, maybe they'll live it up now because there is perhaps no promise of tomorrow. That reminds me of something that was shared once in relation to the marshmallow experiment. Many of us probably had to engage in it at some point, either as a participant or as observation, and we may be somewhat familiar with it. Some of us may not necessarily know, and I did have an opportunity to observe it, and the individual conducting it was trying to just, within the group setting, was trying to demonstrate something. And before I repeat some of the other things that transpired, one instance that seemed to have been an anomaly for him was there were no takers, only to discover later on that had he put something else besides the marshmallow, which was probably one of the most repulsive things to that particular cohort, it would have been a different outcome. But in recent times, I gather that we're seeing many people, they ordinarily would probably forego the delayed sort of gratification with the expectation that some, but they decide, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, so a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Is that not the adage that we all have heard and some very quickly ascribe to? Well, your thoughts. 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, WhatsApp 925-3261. Of course, 949-8037 creates also access to our studio. Just the difference is it's a flow toll-free call. You dial and pay a few cents for yourselves. Now, one other quick point that we wanted to reference based on some growing input from a number of our citizens. Not an intent to sort of sound as if it was a scientific study that is exhaustive or empirical or the like. But a growing number in the last few weeks have been sharing different comments. Some within sort of the group setting as they socialize, others as part of structured, informed discussion over particular platforms in order to, again, to exchange information, to engage and to interact. And there were chats within chats, as it were. And one sort of resounding sort of sentiment is the notion that we need within our governance system a renewed sense of respect for it, growing appreciation to revisit some of the operating sort of rules, and the notion that in order to ensure continuity and stability, that there has to be this idea that there's not only a healthy respect for the system, but those within the system who are operating, who are affected by this operation, need to exhibit a growing and a stronger desire to maintain integrity. And one particular sentiment that was shared was that is it that we're not sort of training, not just the academic training, but training by example. One individual who is probably seen as not just the older, member of the group as it is, or one of the older ones, but through work and particular life experiences, has seen and perhaps experienced a lot more than many of us would probably ever, even if we tried to deliberately. And her view was simple. If we don't understand the importance of, and I'll just use today's language, sharing our knowledge, that knowledge, transfer. If we don't understand the importance of drawing alongside and guiding, it doesn't matter who we are, what positions we occupy, or how much longer we have in an organization, or how long we've been there. We can always learn something. We can always teach something. We just need to have that sense of humility. And as the discussions unfold and groups within the groups sort of break off, not unlike the plenary sessions that we would once attend way back when, and may once again when there is a semblance of respect and appreciation for the human condition and interaction. Integrity and humility seem to have been the call and the desire for that level of access that we seek. And if we don't exhibit those two particular values, well, can we expect outcomes to be different? 8949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And we were talking earlier, individuals, we referenced it yesterday, and the notion that time waits for no one, that there is this healthy respect for time, and that for some, when they say, well, you're on Cayman time, you're on Caribbean time, there is this notion that it is, soon come, only to offend many who understand that the environment in which they live, the homes in which they were raised, the examples that they've seen, were that, you were 10, 15 minutes before the appointed time, sometimes if not longer, because that was what was important. Whether it was just a social gathering on a fishing trip, whether it was a dinner engagement, whether it was church, and in particular, it was work, you were there sufficiently on time. 949-8255, right, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And it's perhaps, let me read this as we go into our break from one of our listeners. It says, at the beginning of the program, a mention was made of the crisis/panic we feel daily. How do we, or are we going to handle this? Only yesterday, in an interactive panel, the conclusion was preparation versus panic. I hope the following examples assist us in understanding the conclusion of being prepared. Remove/address corruption in government in general, whether from schools, PTA, homes, and I can probably, businesses, etc. We can add many more. So early childhood flags be activated during early childhood and not in the middle or the high schools. And people without parenting skills because of their poor dysfunctional upbringing should be required to attend appropriate counseling before, quote-unquote, allowing them to just be recipients of NAU or other charities. And hopefully this message will be highlighted when there's more time and another opportunity to discuss the subject and bring it into focus. Well, thanks for putting those quick thoughts to us. We're going to pause, take a break. After the news, Clydas will be our guest. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
113 cases of COVID-19 were reported in the Cayman Islands between Sunday and Tuesday, with 12 COVID patients getting treatment at the hospital. The 7-day rolling average for Wednesday was 48. Good afternoon. I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Russia has resumed pumping gas to Europe through its biggest pipeline after warnings it could curb or halt supplies altogether. The Nord Stream 1 pipeline restarted following a 10-day maintenance break, but at a reduced level. On Wednesday, the European Commission urged countries to cut gas use by 15% over the next 7 months in case Russia switched off Europe's supply. Russia supplied Europe with 40% of its natural gas last year. And U.S. President Joe Biden has tested positive for COVID-19 and is isolating at the White House. The 79-year-old, who is fully vaccinated and has twice received booster jabs, is experiencing very mild symptoms and will continue to carry out all his duties, his press secretary said. Her statement said the president is taking the antiviral medicine Paxlovid. First Lady Jill Biden said he is doing fine and she had tested negative. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray, and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
You could be the lucky winner in July as part of Kirk Freeport's 50th anniversary sweepstakes. Each month for the whole year, lucky shoppers have a chance to win a jewelry piece or watch from luxury brands. The prize for July is the innovative Tag Heuer Carrera watch that takes you from daytime to a night out with seamless style. Visit any Kirk Freeport store location to enter. Every purchase of $100 gains you entry into the monthly drawing. View terms and conditions on KirkFreeport.com.
In recognition of the 50th anniversary of the Cayman Islands Parliament Building, the community is invited to a special celebration on Thursday, the 21st of July, from 6 to 8 p.m. The 2-hour program will include speeches, live performances, and Cayman-inspired cuisine, including conch stew and refreshments. Join your family, friends, neighbors, and countrymen and women in celebration of this historic tribute to the iconic building that gave the Cayman Islands its first permanent home for the legislator. The 50th anniversary of the Cayman Islands Parliament Building, Thursday, July 21st, from 6 to 8 p.m., 33 Fort Street in Georgetown.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. And thanks again for joining us. And thanks too to our guests who accept invitations. I should say thanks to for someone that actually give me additional reading and homework. I never, ever, ever stop learning. And for those of us who've had great examples through our parents and older siblings and the like, that learning is a lifelong endeavor. Long before that was even an adage. I think those are the examples that we cherish today. Mightn't like it then, but we certainly appreciate it now. Well, Kenneth Ebanks, the man known as Clydas, from the days of coaching the Clydas Cubs to the days of sitting at the helm of the director of planning to, a lot of years. I used to joke and say the chief strategist, but he reminds me of the senior strategic advisor in the Ministry of Planning. I want to say that to share that in our midst, we have many who've grown from the soil, many who've come here and been, in our midst for decades, that offer great resource or made invaluable contributions to our society, who still are able to draw alongside if only we would ask. And if it's okay with you, I think of two others immediately. You probably know whom, but
I'll play the fifth.
Yeah, there you go. And that would probably be a wise thing these days. But it is great to be able to. So we're going to ask you somehow to orchestrate that microphone, pretend you on, the West Bay Finest, and up and doing your karaoke, get you there. But thank you for accepting the invitation to join us. And hopefully as we start initially talking about population, before I even ask the question, well, why is population discussions important? Let me ask your initial thoughts and in the direction, anything you wish to say. Welcome, sir. And again, thank you for being our guest.
Dwayne, thank you for having me and inviting me, first of all. And thanks to Miss Norma and the rest of the team here.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon to Caymanians and all residents of the islands. I hope we have a lively discussion and open to calls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm hoping likewise. At the outset, I reference a couple of things just because, well, they were what transpired in my early part of my day. And I've been trying to find how to get more than 24 hours in a day. And then I decided that's not a wise thing to do because I found that. It just meant that one day became the other. So let's make use of the time that we have, right? And one particular lady shared a couple of things relative to how we look at government's budgets over the years. Some remember when it was $1 million, when it hit 10 million, 100 million, now even $1 billion. But what does that mean? And then the other thing that I was referencing, she said that, we can look back to reports, whether as a thesis for some grad student, or whether you were working with a certain area and you hired as a consultant, whichever, but just within our country. Someone said long ago, what if crime became an issue? And that was scoffed at. What if people couldn't find, access to housing? Not just because there was no affordable land, but what about the other resources? The labor to build it, the money to be able to afford to build it, but you got all that, but then you don't have the tools. Or you have all of that, but wait a minute, there's no blocks, no tiles. You don't have that. And only to be scoffed at. Well, today, kind of looks like you could be facing those problems. We ignore so much, so.
Yes, and I mean, because we came onto the development scene much later than the Caribbean islands. I suppose what you call us the islands that time forgot. But we've had so many examples of what did not work, what went wrong, that we were in such a position to be able to learn from the mistakes of our very close neighbors. I'm not going to call the names of those countries, but I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. But we chose not to, and now we're experiencing a lot of the ills that they have experienced many, many decades before us.
But I want to ask about in terms of, well, is it too late? Can we revisit and correct those ills? I'm a little bit of an optimist sometimes, too optimistic. Must be in the DNA.
Yeah. There's still time for us to get some things right. There's probably time for us still to correct some of the mistakes that we've made before it gets too far and then we can't correct them. But no, there's still some time.
Well, I like the positivity, the optimism, and most times, most of us have that, but there are times like this when there's uncertainty and people may feel, you know what, let's just throw caution to the wind, or it's a fait accompli and leave it be. But you reference not just the examples of our neighbors, but there are many who would probably recall conversations, those who would visit, primarily from North America, and would be in our homes, would be in our groups where the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, as it was called then, would be assembled, and we would just be chatting, and they would share, hey, I'm from wherever this is what has happened, you should be mindful. So we had the benefit of those individuals, those informal consultants. Some were very adamant, guys, don't do this, you're on the road to, and we didn't heed that. And look at where we are.
Yes, and if we take tourism as an example, I want to say that we are lucky that we are where we are in terms of having a fairly viable tourism product.
Yeah.
I think it could have been much better had we listened. Had we listened, it could have been better.
Yeah.
I remember because my father Solly, being one of the pioneers in North Sound.
Yep.
Some evenings after he would come back from a trip, he would go get the gas, bring him to his house, and that's where they would have dinner. Lobster, conch, fish, and during those sort of informal discussions, and say, try to keep what you have. But like tourism, it goes through many stages of development. Some people say like 7 stages. We have, first of all, like the discovery, like with us now back sort of in the 50s. People start to discover the islands. Then you get a few locals getting involved in industry, building facilities, offering different services. Then you get some foreign investments coming in, building hotels, and then you get to a place where you call sort of stagnation. Then you got a choice. You either rejuvenate or you go into decline. Again, we have several examples from neighbors who've had to go through that rejuvenation. And now, I suppose, again, they're more or less back to where they used to be before and have a good, viable product again. Where are we in that sort of 7-stage development? I hope that the ministry, the minister, the PAC government, and everybody else are also looking, where are we in that model, and what are we going to do to ensure that our tourism product can be sustained for a much longer period of time.
Sustainability is something we always hear. Now, let me read this clear as I hear you. But there is not very much time left to correct, quote-unquote, our mistakes. The destruction is moving very, very fast. Verbatim from one of our listeners. So there is that sense of, well, hey, this is the reality. All right. As we talk about that, and we reference those times, Solly, my daddy, Captain Artist, those are people who were, they were not just, carving a living. They were doing what they understood was important, and the way they did it. Things of conservation may not necessarily have been, a legal document, but it was a part of their mantra. As boys, we had to preserve certain things.
Yes.
Waste not, want not, right? And you couldn't take certain fish. You didn't take more than, what you needed for dinner. And they understood that. We've sort of losing our way, and maybe for different reasons. Perhaps that's something we can revisit and have a chat about as well.
But there's reply briefly to the caller there. So again, being optimistic. But let's take it as an example. Stingray City / Sandbar. Right. One of our main attractions. Now, if we continue at the current pace that we are going, the number of visitors that go there on a daily basis, I can foresee Sandbar not being anymore in the not too distant future. So yes, we can save that by reducing the number of visitors per day, per hour, whatever the case may be. So yes, there are ways in which we can correct some of the mistakes we've made, and we're making.
And we are continuing to make, as you said, we're making. And maybe that's something to discuss, because in all of this, as you list the different names, the word stakeholder, we're all stakeholders in this. It doesn't matter if you work as an operator in North Sound, you're working in a bank in some capacity. You know, this economy is sort of interconnected, and all of our lives are intertwined. And where we look at the population and the growth. Now, for some of us, we love demographics. We look at it, we understand the statistical implications, but for some, it's just only an esoteric discussion. They don't need to disseminate it beyond this small group. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, a good fish dinner has to be shared. At least that's what I think. Yeah. And I have one.
Well, I'm glad you said that, but you've never invited me for any yet, so.
Like I said, a good fish dinner has to be shared. I'm waiting for the invitation. I'll be honest with you, though. And I say this knowing that I probably, run the risk of, some other comment. But, once, a good friend sent a breadfruit, and another good friend, made a meal. And, you got a little bit of breadfruit from one, a piece of fish from your brother. Another person puts the, hand to the pot. And that's where the meal is enjoyed, right? We're all in this together. Probably one of the best, the best times, best meals I've had, and not just because of the circumstance, but because of the setting and the people, right? Good fish dinners, be serious.
Well, like, talking about population, I mean, being West Bears, how we like to talk about people.
Only publicly. Well, let's talk about them.
Okay.
I promise I will behave.
Oh, what I forgot to ask you, where's Ray? I thought he was going to join us.
I actually called him, Yeah. He hasn't called me back yet, which is concerning.
Yes.
He probably thought I needed something, but no, I was going to ask him to come and sit with us for specific reasons, because I think he brings a dynamic to certain discussions. But we'll see. Unlike the rest of us, he actually works. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and my apologies for not bringing the Three Musketeers today, but
that's fine.
When I was in the service last, you couldn't eat at your desk, so I didn't want to. Miss Norma to get down on your case.
Yeah, she probably would too.
She probably would.
Yeah,
okay,
but that's okay though. I'll just eat under the table. And
okay, well, if you talk about population for a little bit, over the years we've had different rates of growth. Most recently, last year census. So averaging like around 2.7% annually. But in years before that, it'd be much higher and a little lower here and there.
Right.
But if we assume that next couple of years it'll be 3% per year.
This will be compounded, right?
By the year in the next decade, by 2031, the difference in our population with Caymanians and non-Caymanians, we'll have 50.6% Caymanians, 49.4% non-Caymanians. Right now, it's at 53.6 Caymanians, 46.4 non-Caymanians. Sometime between 2031 and 2041, there'll be more non-Caymanians than there are Caymanians.
Yeah. Now, is that also accounting for the increase in the Caymanian component by those who have been here, went through the process, gained citizenship? So this is not just people who are coming here. We've even seen increases in the Caymanian component by citizens who are now Caymanian.
That's an inference I've made, but the census report hasn't been made public as yet. So all we have access to right now is just a sort of the summary. But going back then to the 2010 census, yes, it's clear, at least to me, that the increase in the Caymanian portion of the population has been attributed primarily to status grants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a logical inference, right?
Yeah, our natural population growth
from the births is declining.
Yeah, we wouldn't have naturally increased at that rate. Mm-hmm. And I have 1 or 2 graphs that show that. Unfortunately, those who are listening can't see what I'm saying. So
you can do a peanut word picture.
Just to borrow a phrase from someone.
I hear what you're saying, bro. But
so again, I think that's very critical. That in the next 20 years, we could be, as Caymanians, we could be outnumbered.
Right. One of our listeners, we're speaking to Clydas, and I keep recognizing that we have an invaluable resource in our people. We say it, but we don't celebrate it, or we don't access it. This individual asks, is there a category for the generational Caymanians? Not status holder. Do we have that sort of breakout? And if we don't, should we?
I think that would involve a lot of legal work, because as I understand it currently, once you granted status, then you sort of gain all the rights of someone who is a traditional Caymanian who've come from Caymanian roots.
Well, and this isn't meant to be disparaging. Is it meant to be inflammatory? This is a comment. I won't, for 2 reasons, I won't say it verbatim, right? And this is from an individual who you and I would take as Caymanian, who we would quickly recognize, well, that's not a Cayman accent, but their commitment to the country, their time, just their words, very, very indicative that there's a strong love for this country, for the people. And perhaps if more of us shared those sentiments publicly, we would understand where we are. But he said that if it was by design or default, we created an advantage for those who gain citizenship through the status, because they now have a document that says that they're Caymanian. And that was only evident when increasingly more of us, whether through scholarship applications, employment, had to now find ourselves in line at immigration. Hey, I need something to say I'm Caymanian. Now, I find that on a personal level, sort of offensive. Every country should have a piece of paper, some document that says you possess this, you're a citizen. But to say to someone who has, a birth certificate, born of a person who has a birth certificate, of a person who has birth certificate, if that isn't indicative, well, they have a voter's ID, they have this, they have that. What is indicative? Because to go to immigration, to say, well, you're Caymanian, they must be looking at something. To go to get registered to vote, they must be looking at something. So if you present all of that, in and of themselves, are they not? And why I reference that is, with that increasing population and the potential friction for just more people in the space, is there, again, as the gentleman shared, by design or by default, this inherent conflict and division and disadvantage that is being created?
Yes, okay. From my perspective,
yes, sir.
There's a clear advantage for someone being granted Cayman status.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take a break?
No, we'll call. We'll break in 6 minutes, but you finish your thought and we'll take the call.
Okay. Someone is granted Cayman status.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when things get bad here, as they will at some point in the future, that person has another place to go back to. As a Caymanian, you have no place to run. To Barker's Key, Owen Island.
Barker's? Well, now, what I was saying, I see the proposal up though.
So that person automatically has an advantage over, I say, quote unquote, a born Caymanian.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a caller.
Yeah. So again, if you want to be granted Caymanian status, then you become equal with a Caymanian. You give up your former citizenship. I know a lot of people are going to give me flack for that, but not a problem. I'm used to that.
Yeah. There's a joke, if you're married, you give up your girlfriend.
Yeah.
But just saying. Let's go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
Very well, sir. How are you?
Good. Interesting discussion. I had one
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Earlier. Good afternoon, sir. I had a question from earlier, but you've just stirred up a couple of other thoughts. So I'll leave the three, and then you can decide how you answer them.
Okay, give me a minute. Let me take one or two notes.
Sure.
Okay.
Or you can answer as you go along. The first one is based on what you just said. Are you proposing then that the law should be changed, that residents cannot have dual nationality? I know some people have 2 or 3 passports, but are you saying that should be changed so that if they're Caymanian, they're solely Caymanian?
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of, the numbers, the statistics that you mentioned, I know many years ago the statistical compendiums used to list the differences, I think they still do, between natives or nationals or however you describe the local people and those who are paper Caymanians, as they say, or status holders.
Correct.
But and I think you've lived in countries like Canada, I believe, for a long time.
Well, for four winters.
Okay.
So that's equivalent to 50
that
years.
could be like 4 decades, right? But the idea that I'm getting to is, for now, is you, of course, would be aware of the First Nations and the emphasis that Canada, the U.S., and most developed countries placed or still place on their indigenous, their first people, the people who were there, settled for, a long time. So why don't we do the same thing here? Why not do the same thing? Why doesn't the Constitution define what is a native or what is a first person or however you term it?
No, I concur with that train of thought, not saying that I concur with you in that the U.S. and Canada, as examples, have treated their First Nation people fairly, but
right.
I see where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, I'm not saying they're treated fairly. I'm just saying
okay.
At least they're recognized, even if they're on a reservation.
Yes.
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 Not to make light of that situation, because that's still unfortunately a serious one for a lot of Native people around the world.
Correct.
But the question I was getting to, being a long time planning professional, planning department head, all that ministry, I'm just thinking back to one decision that was made many years ago. I'm sure you recall, following the public debate, to change the beach access from the edge of vegetation to the high water mark. Just that one decision is obviously still affecting us today, and both in terms of development and in terms of public, accesses. So I just wanted to ask you that, to see what you thought about that today, looking back on it. So I'll leave you, and then I can leave or hold on if you like while you answer that.
No, I completely concur that it was a major mistake when we moved the high water mark from basically the vegetation line to down now to very close to the edge of the sea. I think that happened, if I'm not mistaken, in 1984. What that did was it gave more land to those property owners, and when the land was sold, government made more revenue. Yes, but I think by and large, we are now starting to see again some of the ill effects of that decision. But again, that's one of those mistakes we made that can be corrected by moving it back to where it used to be before.
Right. Have you heard any discussion in that regard, or that's just a wish?
I have not. I've heard some utterances about moving the setback line to a much more sort of physically defined area as opposed to now, where it is objective, but something a bit more tangible than where the high water mark is now.
Right.
But I've heard that you want to, again, move it, make it more tangible. That is not going to solve the problem of access to the beach. It will assist in application for buildings and structures as to where the setback line is.
Okay, sir. And I don't mean to sound defensive when we talk about the local and the status holders, but there's nothing against them. We welcome all people, well, most people, as long as they're law-abiding. My wife is not a Cayman national, so it's not anything the locals have against them. I think the locals are just worried that our identity is being eroded, and that is what people must appreciate as well.
Caller, I couldn't agree more, and I think we need to look to our elected leaders primarily, because I use this term again, not loosely or lightly, but I think we're experiencing some cultural genocide, and our children, grandchildren, are going to only be able to experience certain things in a book, on a photograph, in a museum, but they will not be in a place physical for them to go and say, this is what Caymanian was when my dad or my grandfather was a baby or a boy or a girl, whatever the case may be. So, no, all things Cayman, I think, is being slowly, some people say rapidly, being destroyed in the name of quote-unquote progress.
Mm-hmm. Right. And just to wrap up, the only other comment is that in relation to your earlier comment, even the status holders, however, do not have all the same rights as a native. For instance, it's defined in the Constitution who can be involved in politics and other activities, even culturally, like permits for turtling or different things that are still on the books. That there are some differential rules for locals, natives, and status holders. So and every country does that. There's nothing wrong with having, different rules, different systems to govern different people. So there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think.
No, caller, I completely agree. And again, I was married to a non-Caymanian as well, so I have no ill feelings towards anyone who is not, quote-unquote, a born Caymanian. Yeah. No, by all means. But if you come here, then you must abide by our norms. I was listening to the talk show a couple of days ago, and there was someone saying that, they sat down and listened to non-Caymanians, really give Cayman a bad name. It happened to me many years ago as well. And I said to the person who was talking, if you don't like it here, I think we have several flights a day going out. I'm sure you can find a seat on one of those. And that was the end of that conversation.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Well, apart from that, just to sort of finish up, it's not about any controversy initially, but the concern to me is that the local people, as you said, the young ones especially, are struggling to define who they are. So, it's no longer a Munza boat and red shanks on an iron shore. It's a different Cayman now. So I think as adults, we have to help them sort of redefine the new Cayman. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts and your wisdom. So thanks again.
All right. Hey, thanks very much, man.
Thank you very much, caller.
All right. Cleus, we have a quick break to take. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion, right? So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Subway's giving you flavor around the clock with the new Chicken Squad sandwich options. Try the classic chicken and bacon ranch, the sweet and savory barbecue chicken, or the chicken cordon bleu. 3 new appetizing and delicious sub options that you can also make into a wrap. The Chicken Squad is available at Subway for only a limited time. Subway, giving you something to cluck about.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Cybercrime happens online or through the technology we use every day. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime, whether you are a young person being bullied or harassed online, or an older person or business who's been scammed out of money or personal data. Cybercrime is an issue that touches all of us. The Cayman Islands government has therefore created an online resource to help keep you cyber safe in an ever-changing world.
In online situations, it is better to be cyber safe than sorry. Learn now to protect yourself against cybercrime. Visit gov.ky/cybersafe.
Early Bird gets the cheap tickets. Join us at Parker's Raceway July 30th and 31st with tickets starting as little as $10. Race on over to parkersraceway.com and get your Early Bird tickets before they sell out. Follow us on social media for more event details at Parker's Raceway. A big thanks to our sponsors, Monster, Valvoline, AI Rentals, Event Pro, VP Racing Fuels, Parker's, and NGK Spark Plugs. Get your tickets at parkersraceway.com.
Hello, Cayman. Please join me, contestant number 2, Izara Brown, and our 7 lovely contestants at this year's Miss Cayman Islands Universe pageant on Saturday, August 6th at the Westin Hotel. Doors open at 6. Show starts at 7. Tickets are available at Funky Monkey and Funky Tangs. Huge thanks to our corporate sponsors, Ministry of Tourism, Radio Cayman, Compass Media, and Cayman Airways.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. And thanks to the Claytons for sitting in. And I'm mindful that as we go forward, perhaps not just through my personal sort of intention and desire, but hopefully as our country will be part of our inculcated ethos. We have these discussions publicly. We critique information, objectively. It's not personal. And even when we reference people, we're focusing on principles as opposed to personalities. Clayton, we do have another caller. Let us venture to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Kenneth.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Kenneth, first of all, before I get to my point, I must say that for somebody who retired a while ago, you look pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that's probably why.
Billy, you can actually see me?
Yes, I can see. I'm watching you on YouTube.
Oh. I thought you could only hear. You can only hear what I was saying. You can only see what I was saying.
No. I always make sure that my ears and my eyes see the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, the issues you are discussing today, it's amazing how sometimes an issue can be discussed so many times, and yet you still hear something new. Like, for example, you said something about that is it possible, or I think you were asking the question, whether it is possible for Cayman to say, look, if you want to get Caymanian status, you can't have another nationality.
Sorry. I was saying that's what I would propose.
Okay, that's what you would propose. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Which is very interesting, because despite the fact that I know there are some countries which don't allow dual nationality, I have never thought of that in relation to Cayman. And so in this context, it's just amazing that, I'm hearing it for the first time. It is also interesting, the other caller who called, who said, well, look, can't we make a distinction between indigenous people and the non-indigenous people? Again, I have never heard that. I know that the situation is a little bit different. The other indigenous people are being recognized because they were disadvantaged. But it seems to me it's a concept which also Cayman might want to look at, because I do see, I suspect that the numbers that you gave, that 56% Caymanian and 49%, or rather 56% non-Caymanian. Anyway.
Yes, caller, again, those numbers were derived using roughly a 3% increase annually. If you increase more, of course, then that timeline would move forward. If the increase isn't as much as 3%, it'll take longer. But I think 3% is a reasonable number to work with.
Okay. Now, thanks for that clarification, Kenneth. Now, the thing I was going to ask really about that is, it seems to me that if you were to make a distinction between indigenous Caymanians and status holders, I think you may well find that indigenous Caymanians by population are probably somewhere around 35% in my view. I know that in TCI some years back, they did a survey, but they narrowed it down and refined it to a point of defining who were the indigenous people. And they found that there were only about 38% of those people who had status or belonger status there. Now, let me ask a question. Well, first of all, let me say, a lot of people wonder, why are you, a foreigner from so far off, interested in this issue? I came to Cayman first time to come to work in 2003 August, and that's when the status grants were being given. Like, I was just watching it on TV, and I wasn't even sure. But later on, I found out that these were mass grants. Now, this is like nearly 20 years ago. Okay.
Yes.
And there are so many suggestions today about how you can deal with this idea of preserving Caymanian identity. And yet, it is almost 20 years, it seems to me it hasn't been addressed. Do you think really there is a government which will address this? And my interest in this is this, because I ended up being victimized in government. Part of the reason was because I thought that some complaints by Caymanians were legitimate. So I said, well, rather than be an arbitrator, let me just offer to train a Caymanian. And as soon as I offered to train a Caymanian in the job I was doing, that was like the last straw. I also now became victimized. So now I was treated like a Caymanian. So that's my interest in this, apart from the fact that I don't like injustice anywhere, but also I have ended up being treated as a Caymanian and therefore victimized. That's why I'm interested in it. But really my question, Kenneth, in winding up, is simply this. Do you think that there is any government that will ever address this? Because this came to a head in 2003. It's 19 years now, nearly 20 years. Is there a government which you think is going to address this? And therefore, do you think that there is still accountable government in Cayman? Let me stop there. I know I put you on the spot, but that's why I'm so happy to have communicated with you after a long time. Thanks very, very much.
All right, thank you for listening, man. Thank you. Cletus, the ball is in your court, man.
Billy, thank you very much. I've been put on the spot many times, and I suppose this would not be the last time. So, you will not have a monopoly on that. Okay. Again, I am an optimist, and I feel yes that it will be addressed. However, little caveat: most governments to date only act in times of crisis. So if there is enough public outcry against what's happening, I think something will happen. But in as far as planning for it, I have not seen much interest in past governments to do much planning. If a crisis arises, then yes, I think something will happen.
So we need your crisis management sort of thing.
Yep.
Let's go through.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Billy, if you can still see what I'm saying, I want you to look at.
Yeah, you hold it.
Hold that. This top graph here. This is a population pyramid for the islands from 1960, and you'll see that at the very bottom, it's broad, goes up into like a triangle, which is why it's called a population pyramid. Billy, if you can see that, or all others who are looking.
Can you put the just before we go, put the zoom in on so we asked our wonderful team here, they'll zoom the camera in on the graphic there, for what it's worth.
Okay. That's sort of a population pyramid where you have a lot of young people at the base and very few older people at the top. And that's like a good pyramid to have, because basically what you have is you have a good foundation, and if you're building anything, the first thing you want to do is have a good foundation. So you have a lot of people coming up to keep maintaining those persons in the middle. That's back in 1960. This one here on the bottom was last year.
That's 2021.
2021. And if you see how small the bottom is now and how big the middle is, it's definitely top heavy. It doesn't have that much of a foundation anymore. So something is going to start to crumble. When? I don't know, but it will start to crumble.
All right. I'm told we have a break. We will take that, and we will ask, as we continue our discussion about population, there are a lot of questions that are even evident from those two graphs. So when we come back, let's continue talking. Stay tuned.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Attention drivers, hurricane season is from June 1st to November 30th. Hurricanes don't plan ahead, but you can. Get prepared at Ace with batteries, flashlights, and generators. Power a small electric stove, charge your phones, or turn on some lights. Be prepared for hurricane season. Visit our store at 11 Ashko Street, Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners, now using the most popular and eco-friendly cleaning solvents. 2 convenient locations to serve you: Savannah Countryside and Eastern Avenue, Georgetown. Drive-through, rain or shine, free pickup and delivery services available. Call Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. Also ask about our in-house discounts. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
Puritan Cleaners, 949-7104. That's 949-7104.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Commissions for Standards in Public Life reminds all persons subject to the Standards in Public Life Act that they are required to submit their annual declarations by no later than Saturday, 30th of July, 2022. To determine if you're required under the Act to submit a declaration, visit standardsinpubliclifecommission.ky/register-of-interest. Again, the deadline for submissions of declarations of interest via the online portal in accordance with the Standards in Public Life Act is Saturday, 30th July, 2022.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks to our guest, Kenneth Ebanks. Cletus, as everybody knows, we do have a guest in the studio. We have a caller online. It says hello. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hello, good afternoon, Dwayne.
Afternoon. How are you today?
Fine, thanks, and you?
Oh, blessed. Very thankful.
Yeah, good afternoon to your guest, Mr. Kenneth.
Good afternoon, darling.
I didn't hear from the beginning of your topic, but I can hear it's a very important topic, especially when you talk about Caymanians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yes, ma'am.
Is it, like you say, we're not prejudiced and we're not biased as the foreigners, but we're pro-Caymanians all the way.
You got it.
When a lot of comments you said, I agree with you 100%. And a lot of the problem that we have here is foreigners are able to move up the ladder and Caymanians don't get the opportunity. And COVID was a very, very great example for us because tourism, for one, crashed. That crashed worldwide. Cayman got a big blow with it. The people that was in tourism, in my opinion, should have been given the option that they should have had to leave because we did not have no resources to accommodate those people. They costed our country millions of dollars. All shapes and forms. We did flights to put them out, whatever, and they didn't leave. What they were able to do that Caymanians didn't get opportunity to do was to jump from one job to the other. For instance, they jumped from tourism to real estate. If you check the real estate market now, the real estate market hardly has a Caymanian. I don't know if they got Caymanians into it anymore, but that market has gone sky high, and they have outpriced us out of the market a long time. I mean, for instance, with land and everything, I mean, they go in and they're purchasing people's homes that are on the price bid, and they're selling it on the market. Of those people that was to sell way up there, which is out of mine, and maybe it might be still your reach, as you know, as you're a little more wealthier, and a retired Caymanian got an opportunity to retire and be able to get something. But a lot of the younger Caymanians can't even get an opportunity. My son went to the bank a few months ago. He works in the water sports industry. And to apply for a loan, now he has been working there for 21 years, only to be told by the bank that tourism has crashed and you cannot qualify to borrow a loan if you're working in the tourism industry now. Now, where are these children supposed to go? I mean, where are they going to be able to purchase a home, get something for themselves, a piece of land? I mean, these are things the government needs to look into. They're being outpriced all along. And I mean, the prices that they're coming up with for homes and everything, obviously they're not trying to accommodate no Caymanians. Because I know, for instance, a piece of land right by me in West Bay, it was bought in 1974 for $3,000. It's now on the market, and they didn't do anything with the piece of land. Not even. The only thing that enhanced that land was government put a road on three sides of the land, put a highway, and now they got that land on the piece of on the market for $699,000.
CI.
And the thing about it, that piece of land, in my opinion, and government knows it, their government needs that piece of land should be allocated for farmland for Caymanians. If government needs to go and purchase that piece of land, they need to go and purchase, because it's a number one farmland. I actually farmed on it for over 10 years, and now I'm told by the people now that, you know, I can't use it no more because it's their land. They gave me permission to farm on it when there was nothing doing to it. But now, they got roads and everything to it. Now it's valued $699,000 now, according to them. But and you can't find no more land to do anything more. So I think government needs to walk in and do what they do with everything else and tell them, no, this land has to be allocated for Caymanians. Because we're going to have to turn back to farming. We were the islands of time forgotten, and we're surely coming back to that again. It's coming fast.
Caller, I hear you loud and clear. And are you finished, or can I make a comment, or you want to finish now?
You can go ahead. I can hold up. You want me to hold on?
No, it's up to you, darling. Which one you want to?
Yeah. I'm finished. I'll get up there and listen to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sam.
Concern COVID and the tourism workers. Those are displaced. Government gave them a stipend. They were all primarily private sector workers that government was subsidizing. Now you'll hear the private sector say government should not get involved in the private sector. But I didn't hear anyone of them complain that government should not be giving those workers a stipend. Plus, not only was it the Caymanians that were giving stipends to, also non-Caymanians, and like you said, their job was redundant for COVID reasons. Then yes, you have to leave. You come out on a work permit and there's no work. That company you work for gone belly up. You leave.
Okay, let's pause. News. When you come back, pick up on that. I mean, we'll look increasingly at some of these implications of our projected population growth. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Isolated showers along with light southeasterly winds and seas are expected across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with an upper-level trough. Radar images show isolated showers in and around the Cayman area drifting towards the west. Partly cloudy skies with a 40% chance of showers and some thunder are likely. Temperatures will rise to the upper 80s with a heat index of 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines. In news elsewhere, comedian Dave Chappelle has had a live show cancelled at the last minute due to controversy over some of his jokes. The First Avenue venue in Minnesota apologized for booking him and said the show would move to another theater. Chappelle has received both huge support and intense criticism for his jokes about transgender people in recent stand-up routines. And 3 men have died in 24 hours from wounds suffered during bull running festivals in eastern Spain. They had all taken part in the Valencia region's traditional Boas al Carrer, which is bull running, when bulls charge through towns, often with people running ahead of them. Animal rights groups have long complained of the dangers for the public as well as the animals. They say 20 people have died in the region in the past 8 years. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
We wanna go and dally,
Bacayard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine. 7 Mile Beach might have changed, but Bacayard is bringing it back. True Caribbean food in the heart of 7 Mile, just like Mama's home cooking. Brown stew snapper, Cayman-style beef, jerk chicken, turtle stew, and the delicious list goes on. Dine in, take out, or order with the Bento app. Bacayard, Caymanian and Jamaican cuisine, 269 West Bay Road, or call 746-4603. Bacayard, daily lunch specials, and the one-of-a-kind Fun Day Sunday brunch.
Bacayard. Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks very, very much for joining us in the studio. We have Clydas, Kenneth Ebanks, sharing his thoughts with us. And, the discussion of statistics, I think for many people, if presented in a way you share, makes us think about it. When we look at population and the demographics, there's a real sort of urgency to understanding what happens. We know governments like to use census to say, well, is our population aging? And what potential needs will we need to? Is there a particular area that is experiencing growth? What sort of infrastructure projects need to be there? Those are the implications that should be obvious. But then the increasing population and maybe the makeup could also have societal implications, good, bad, or indifferent. I wonder to what extent are we going to use the information from our census to not just make informed judgments, but have engage in discussions.
Well, again, I was heartened several months ago, with the Honourable Minister for Tourism, a namesake Kenneth Bryan.
And I see, I think.
He said that a lot of their policy decisions that they make going forward will be evidence-based, and it will be using a lot of the information that comes out of the census. So I will hold him to that and hope that this census, as well as past censuses, will be used so that we can see and get the true benefit of conducting a census.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not only just about how many people you got living in your island.
There's much more to that, huh?
Yeah.
We have another caller. You see, you invite good guests, you get good participation. Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon, welcome, thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Hey, General, how are you, sir?
I'm okay. I see you got the Commodore with you today, so that's good news.
Yes, sir. He's...
Good afternoon, young man.
Yeah, how you been, man?
Oh, good and getting better.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, well, he's a positive guy, I know that, so let's give you a thumbs up then for the time being.
Thank you.
But, yeah, quite an interesting topic you got today. But it goes back to the good book, you know, when it says, there is none so deaf as those that won't hear, and those so blind as those that don't see. If you look around, basically what's happening to Cayman, it's all about like a big party boat, okay? Everything has to be lovey-dovey and let's celebrate, and you see fireworks going off almost every week. Someone is buying a condo or some big entertainment and just pouring money into fireworks. That's good is in place. There's nothing wrong with that. But to another note, if you look at world conditions, what's happening? Mexico, richest city. It's about, 5-7 million people, I understand, live in that city.
Yes, sir.
Good. What happening? They do not have any water. They was chucking in water, but now the reservoir and the rivers are gone dry. I said that to say this. If I'm wrong, I'm here for correction. I would have thought any government in the Cayman Islands would insist that anyone building anything to be like a dwelling home or whatever, you should have what we call a cistern under it for reserve just in case. But my understanding is that you're not allowed to do that. I don't know if that's right or wrong.
No, caller, that is incorrect. If you want to build a cistern, you can. There are no regulations where you can't build a cistern under your house, under your office. I think the main concern is that you can't have, like, again, your sewage pipe going over your cistern. But other than that, no, you can build a cistern.
But to the caller's point, if I might, someone just actually shared a few things. But with cisterns, this caller, as others have shared, it seems to be either openly discouraged or heavily discouraged. This individual says, in terms of planning and development and the like, we share a number of things and says, for instance, water catchment. Give an example, was given a hard time, to paraphrase it, with the submission for a cistern approval.
That is news to me.
Okay.
None of my clients have actually asked for a cistern. And to go back a bit, caller, when we first started getting a water supply, public water supply, it was during that time that the planning government decided, well, since you have a public water supply now, we shouldn't necessarily have to put an additional investment in building a cistern, because in building a cistern is very expensive. You do 6-inch blocks, you fill all the cores and plaster inside and outside and this and that. So yeah, it is it adds quite a bit of expense to the house.
Mm-hmm.
So by using the public water supply, you can reduce that cost and still have water. So that is the impetus behind not requiring houses to have cisterns anymore after we started getting public water supply.
Mm-hmm.
But to the best of my knowledge, if you want to build a cistern, as part of your, whether it be a house or a commercial development, you can.
Okay. Any other thoughts, caller?
Yeah, on to what Kenneth just said. Again, I would assume and I would think that government, when he talk about the planning and when the water companies start to come in, to me that is some sort of a negative idea or discouragement or whatever you choose to call it for the want of a better word. I think the government should, by all means, go overboard and encourage people, shall I say, to build cisterns. Because let me tell you now, and I'm not going to take all day to get off the show. We are in, and I'm not preaching doom and gloom, but it's only somebody that's not so bright or over bright can't see what's happening here. We are getting into the stream of dire straits with all of these people coming in here, pouring in money. What's going to happen to the less fortunate people that don't have anything? Are you going to see them die? Look at what's happening now with the temperature. And here we are, no control over landowners about demolishing some of the most beautiful pockets of land. They have to be demolished to put up what? Another stupid concrete building which is going to create more heat. Again, for so many times I will say, in case you want me to show you, I will look it up and find it for you. In 1957, I read this in 1999. In 1957, the average temperature in the Cayman Islands was 57, 58 degrees. In 1975, it was 75, 78 degrees, maybe 79. In 1999, the temperature then was 89, 87 degrees around there. That was over 20 years ago. So are we so dumb that we don't see the light that we need to stop and tell these people you just cannot just destroy all the land? What planning should do, if I got 2 acres, you should say you can only develop so much. Some of that has to be open space for trees and so on to grow, you know.
Right. Hey, thanks very much, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'll catch up with you in due time, all right?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Good then.
Caller, thank you very much for your comments, sir.
Okay, then. Thank you.
All right. We do have another call. Let's take this. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, my friend. How you doing?
Good afternoon.
Good. Not bad. I'll just say this before I start. You see, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Okay?
Sorry, you want to say that again?
If you fail to plan, then you plan to fail.
Agreed.
All right, so in saying that, right, what we need to look at, and it's a start of remembering this. First of all, Caymanians generally didn't have high capital worth value as in money, cash. Would anybody agree with that?
Agreed.
So, therefore, all Caymanians had here, and families that had it, was property and land. The only way for them to get money from the beginning, from the word go, was to either sell or do something with that piece of land. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay. So, that's the situation that we was back then, and that is still the situation now. So what that has told me that we haven't furthered Caymanians other than doing that, right? So in order for Caymanians to get money, they sell land to development or develop the property. Okay? And that's pretty much where it's at. I mean, I've known of people selling property so they can send their children to school, to college, right? Because that's what they have to do, right? To make sure the child have a good education. Now, when we say that now, we send our child, some children get scholarships and stuff to go away to get a good education. Now, a child that get a scholarship from government, and this bothers me to no end. A child that get a scholarship from government to go away to get an education. Now, they're required to come back to Cayman Islands and work, which I have no problem with, for a couple of years, whatever those years may be, in order to pay back, I guess, to government giving them a scholarship. Right? But one of the requirements they have there is as soon as you finish school, you come back and you start working. For the life of me, it bothers me why we don't have the children do some overseas practical courses after coming out, which then they would learn better experience in practical and the theory before coming back to this island. You're coming back here with a theory side with no practical. Well, how much do you really have to offer? Right? And then you come back here and you work for government, you probably want to switch, then you don't have enough experience. So we need to take all those things into consideration when we put these things in place, because I think that what we're doing is we're holding our kids back, the ones that have scholarships and stuff, right? The other thing that we seem to look at now, which, again, government after government, everybody bypass it. I don't know, only one person I've ever heard has talked about this was late Bo Miller, right? We haven't done anything about a sewage system, right? The more places that are built on this island, everything goes in the ground, into the water lens, runs through the place. Nobody's doing anything about a national sewage system, right? The more places we're destroying our little water lens, a little bit that we have. Nobody's talking about that, right? But that is something that has to be addressed with the construction of it. Construction is going. It don't seem like it's going to slow. And if it does slow, they're going to pick it back up again, because we don't have a other pillar, and no government ever seek the other pillar to lean on, right? What we have here is simply banking, tourism, and construction. That's the three.
Yeah, caller, I couldn't agree more, but every election season, you hear, if not all, the vast majority of the candidates saying if they're elected, to diversify the economy.
But you still go back to the same. You still go back to the same thing, right? There's no new ideas. Is what I'm trying to say. Right?
No,
we're still in the same thing that you're trying to address the same issues, doing the same thing over and over and over again.
That's my point. That
and you see, it's sort of a educational process. Like, for instance, whether right or wrong, when they wanted to do the dock in East End, saying that would be a transshipment point, did anybody really investigate to say, okay, this may be worth it for the Cayman Islands to be a strategic position to be a transshipment point? In my view, I thought we would have been. I thought I would have brought another pillar economy to the island. They didn't want to go through the sound. Could we have put it somewhere else? I mean, they can hold all over the place anyway. Right? Okay? So those things need to be, discussions need to be had wholeheartedly and find out where we want to go. Because if we just sit here, we're going to end up in the same position, talking about the same things. And it's funny because I listened to Mr. O.C. and Mr. Steve speak on things that happened 75 years ago, but the same thing we're talking about today.
I couldn't agree with you more, sir.
Right? So to no end, that frustrates me. Right? And I'm going to tell you, in a person that speaks ideas, sometimes when you speak, you get ridiculed for it. People don't understand it. And I think it's stuck in the mentality that one thing is that's it, and everybody's in that comfort zone. But it's not so comfortable when it's falling apart.
I've been called some of everything under the sun, but I don't want to say I have thick skin because I don't have much of that, and I can't take much punches, but I can roll good.
I just want to share my view, but I think a real holistic view on where Caymanians want to be at, where the country needs to go, needs to be had, and these things need to come into place.
Caller, right. I couldn't agree more. And if you got 1 second, last year, we're going to go to a break. Sorry, caller, we have to go to a break.
You want to say your point? I mean.
Oh, okay. No. Last November, I think when the Premier was giving his speech, the strategic policy document, saying that they will be reviewing the current development plan in the next 2 to 3 years. My comment to him would be, don't review what we have now. That is of very little use to guiding the country to where it needs to be and where we want to be in the next 10, 15, 50 years. Our current development plan is a real estate document. It's a real estate document.
You know something, if you don't mind, Dwayne, I have one more thing I'd like to share. I'll hold on till after the break.
Sorry?
I have one more thing I'd like to share, so I'll hold on till after the break if you need to.
Okay, no, thank you for that. All right, we're going to pause and take that final break and return. Please join us.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Unleash the leadership potential of employees and managers through the globally acclaimed Ken Blanchard series, now offered at the Chamber of Commerce Training Center. Designed for new and experienced managers, the Ken Blanchard series will give new leaders the fundamentals of management, and experienced leaders will learn new best techniques to lead and support staff. Make the Chamber Training Center a partner in your business success. Call the Chamber today at 949-8090 or visit caymanchamber.ky for further information.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Did you know you must ensure all utensils are washed with detergent and rinsed with hot water if they make contact with flood water? For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
JN Money presents the official Jamaica 60th Independence Celebrations on Friday, August 5th at the Lion Center. Featuring from Jamaica, General Degree. Alongside Erica Asai, Leroy Evans, Rose Gold, Dream Chasers dancers, and much more. There will be kids talent contest, best dress, and a dancing contest. Lots of prizes and giveaways, plus the best Jamaican food all day long. Health fair from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. where you can get your PSA, diabetes, and blood pressure checked for free. Music by DJ Bengal and MC Lady T. Don't miss the Jamaica Independence Celebrations Friday, August 5th at the Lion Center, featuring General Degree. Admission is absolutely free. Sponsored by Kingston 62, Best Dressed Chicken, Popeyes, Royal Medical, Kmart Discount Store, People's Choice Grocery, Nathan General, Hot 104.1 FM, Cayman Airways, Cost You Less, Radio Cayman, and Breeze FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for all of our callers, all the listeners, and our guests. And today, Claytus, thanks for sharing with us. We had the wonderful gentleman who was so kind to stay online. Hey, my friend, thanks for holding on, and you wanted to share some other comment.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Wayne.
Yeah, man.
Another thing I want to bring up, right, which I always think about. I want you all to listen to this, right? We are old in Roberts Airport, okay? We took down the building that was there. We built something else that I don't like, okay? And did we give any consideration to where the airport is with sea level rise? Will we be able to use that in the next 10, 20 years as a sea level rise? right? Has anybody given any discussion to that? In my view, I think the airport was obsolete before we even finished, right? Okay, should that have been left for private planes and left the way it was and we build another airport somewhere else? I think
Yes.
discussions being had. I mean, if you think about sea level rise, every road that NRA built is 2 foot higher than the last one. Right? Okay, drive around and look. Every road that we built here is 2 foot higher than the last one. Right? Now you have to ask yourself why. Are they compensating for flooding that the roads may have and then in turn flooding out the surrounding land? Right? Okay? You understand what I'm saying to you, right?
Yes, sir.
So these are things that we are not having a holistic view on. Right? Should we be filling up that high? The roads and stuff, we fill out for other people to tear down their land and to fill up that much and more expensive for construction because we're filling up that much land that don't really need to be filled. Right? So all these things are things that has to be discussed that I never discussed. Right? And it's beyond me why we don't discuss these things. Right? To see where we actually want to go. Anyway, Jonathan, I'll leave you with that.
Okay, caller, I'll make one recommendation. Again, and thanks for your comments. But speak to your elected representative. Get your friends. Talk to them. It is them that can make the changes. Again, for example, if you're building something, one of the restrictions is that the water runoff from your development can't go onto the public road. But if they build a public road, the water from that can come onto your land.
It's laughable or not laughable?
I know, but no. So, you have to be involved more with your elected representative. When I say you, I'm talking about all of us, because it is them that can make the changes, and what they have to understand is that we are their boss, not that they.
I agree with that, right? But in order to do that, I will be honest here, to get any change in Caymanians themselves, we can't depend on government or government officials to do that.
No.
Caymanians themselves need to come together and have committees and have like for instance, right?
No. Caller. Sorry, just a minute. No. It takes the elected officials to enact laws.
I agree with that, but as you said, we put them there. So what I'm going to say to you is this. What needs to happen is every constituency in Cayman Islands needs to demand to have their district councils where they can bring these issues to, which don't have a voice. Unless you get that within each constituency, you, sir, will never have a voice besides what you're doing right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Hey, thanks, Cayman. Talk to you soon. Always makes, insightful, instructive points. I see a couple of minutes left for the program. Maybe one day we'll be able to have you on again when you're able to, but we're maybe scratching the surface, man.
So much for getting a kink neck last night, staying up working on this for you.
We got one more call though, but what is
okay.
it? Let's take that. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for calling.
Later. Hi, sir. Hi, Mr. Sterling.
Afternoon, Mom.
Hello, darling.
Hello, darling. Where you been so long? I want to hear about the last frontier and the highways and the byways and the accesses and the usual spiel. How Caymanians can benefit from that. They can landlock all the land in the back up there, and then you can be able to get low-cost housing and Like, that's when you're going to run. Let me put it here. Wow, be whispering to you, the whole world here. We don't need you on that radio talking. We need truth to be speaking to power on a daily basis. We all the bones are buried. Give me something before that date, no man. Like the last frontier. Imagine how I felt when I saw that bold statement. We call them headlines. they were look like they were gushing from the mouth.
Yeah.
Put that out then.
You should
telling me that I ain't got no way to go after that.
You should have stayed west longer.
Look, yeah, I'll come and tell you the story now. Since you're hearing my business, I'm going to tell you my real business. I went into West Bay one night. I could tell you the month and thing, but I'm not going to go into all that. In 1975.
Oh, 75, okay.
75. I can't get out of West Bay yet. Who, me? Please, I don't like to go.
You
I still out of West Bay.
No, well,
1975. You know what year this is? They tell me 2022. Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't make another trip down there.
No, actually, you're lucky because there's no longer in a place called West Bay.
Okay, wait. Talk to me. See what's saying truth to power. Talk to me. Tell the rest about it. Tell the secret.
No, you got West Bay North, West Bay South, West Bay Central, West Bay West. But there's no West Bay. I mean,
Clay, that's how long I've been telling you that. I've been begging you to run, Clay. That's about 16 years.
George saying the same thing?
I got to see him complete.
No. Yeah. There's no George.
Oh, I thought I had variant ABC, and you would tell me, but if variant BBB or something like that. Or you mean because you suffer from the same complaint?
Yeah. No, darling. I gave 30 odd years of my life to the public service. Which is roughly half of my living years. I would prefer just to be an activist.
What better than that? What better than that?
If I wasn't married, I'll propose to you.
Well, but there is nothing better than that. We hope to edge out the common belief of corruption as being an activist, because you're more exposed. You don't have the access to power all the time, and they might not need anything from you if you present yourself as moral, upstanding, blah, 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 blah. They might have any need of you. So that's what I'm looking for, activists.
Yeah, but I know, again, some of my comments today will not be taken lightly or at all by some folks, and that's okay.
Well.
If all I ask is that, if you have a problem with me, deal with me, not with my family, and I can live with that.
Okay, I'm still working on it. I'm still praying. Okay. But anyhow, you can take another day. Mr. Sterling wouldn't mind. I know he wouldn't mind to come tell us about the last frontier on a little, what they call it, 8x22. That's what young people call it, just 8x22. That's the new jargon for it now.
Okay, well, I think our gracious host has an announcement to make, so...
yeah, that's okay. He don't want me on, but that's you much. Listen, Mr. Sterling, you're coming back another day next week, so to tell us about the final.
Okay, well...
Sterling, don't mind my mouth.
No. Well, thank you for saying that. Cletus has been gracious. He's consented to come back again next Thursday.
Thank you. Okay, guys, show is nice. And I'm hearing all of it, not making much sense because I'm backing and forwarding and like that. Yeah. But, it's always wonderful to hear Clydas.
Yeah.
What a name, Clydas.
You see what you do to me?
Yeah, that's okay. Thursday, sir. Good
Next
night.
Thursday.
Goodbye.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the call.
All right. And thank you for accepting that, because I think many times when people look at statistics, that's numbers, and they get overwhelmed. Some people get excited. We know that the census is going to be released. What we're sharing is just data that's already in the public domain. Now it's time to discuss it, to look at it and see what it means. A couple of questions or comments from our listeners. One says, in relation to the airport, had I seen thought, a number of years ago, or someone shared, need to get a petition out there and all these plans to be done. Some of the politicians out there don't even return calls, right? But I think from what we're sharing, this is an us thing, a we thing. It's no longer just to point fingers. We're in this catboat together. Next Thursday, maybe we can continue looking at some of this and have what sort of homework would you assign for our listeners? By then, I think the document should be in the public domain even more so. But what do you want us to do? Because preparation before you come to class, it's kind of like going to sit to the table. You should have come to the table hungry, So don't come with your belly full. The meal is much better.
Yeah. No, I mean, like today, I didn't. Well, I sort of left it quote unquote open. I wanted to be a bit more structured, but we can never tell wherever it goes. So I would like to speak a bit more about population, development planning, national planning, maybe some about housing, poverty. Again, whether all those things will.
I can see a series of Thursdays. I mean, I'm on a Sundays. All right, we'll get to those things. So next Thursday goes with it?
Yes.
All right. And if anything, we could probably come back Monday and talk about it. We'll leave it be. All right. Thank you. No, seriously, thank you for your time, sir. Thanks to our listeners for their calls and comments and contributions. And looking forward to next Thursday.
Thank you. And thanks for the listeners and those who called, those who didn't call, and those who sent in their WhatsApp. I trust you all enjoyed what we had to say, and I look forward to being here again next week and hope that I don't have a kink neck again that day.
Let's hope not. Tie a string around it, my friend. All right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Please join Mr. Art in the morning for the record. I say this by way of almost a public acknowledgement and apology. Sometimes we miss the things that we're forced because we're too busy wondering about what will be as opposed to embracing what is. Fear can mobilize, but many times it paralyzes. I think in life we have to embrace what is with expected to contribute. I'm grateful for the good people who come in my life. I trust I add value to theirs as well. Thank you, my friend, for this.
Thank you.
Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And